So USA Today came out with a mock draft. And I'm gonna go right to the Lions pick at 29. The Lions are on the clock at 29 and the phone rings. And for the second time in a week, it's the Vegas Raiders. I say second time in a week because I can't remember whose mock it was. It was it was like Chad Reuter or somebody, NFL.com, who had a trade.
Trapazzo or something.
Yeah, had a trade at 29 with Vegas.
Is calling?
Yep. And Vegas is offering, again, their second and third round pick. So the Lions would give up on 29, and they would get the Raiders pick at 44, which is the 12th pick of the second day, and the Raiders pick at 77, which is the third pick of round 3. So Detroit's net here would be 44, the Raiders pick in the second round, 61, their own pick in the second round, 73, a pick they acquired from Minnesota in the second round, and 77, a pick they acquired from the Raiders in the second round. 44, 61, 73, and 77. Gator, the more we look at this, how do you feel about the trade back? And by the way, the Raiders at 29 select Michael Penix Jr., quarterback, Washington. So this is now 2 NFL insiders have gone with this trade scenario. I mean, look, the trade back thing, Brad Holmes talked about it last week. It's clearly something that they are considering. And he talked about how we got to have our bucket of players. And if we realize there's 6, 7 guys that we all look at as sort of the same level, if you can move back from 29 to 44 and you think there's a probability that one of those players is still there, you make the deal. They did this last year with Jahmyr Gibbs. When they traded from 6 to 12, they rolled the dice that Gibbs would still be there. Now, it's not just, hey, we're doing this on a wing and a prayer. This is knowing everybody else's draft needs, right? Who had Jahmyr Gibbs in for a visit? Who doesn't need a running back? Who's no way in hell going to take a running back? Oh, Bijan's still there. Like all these things that factor into going, okay, this is a calculated risk, but we're not winging and prayer it here. We think he's going to be on the board based upon those teams that are drafting between 6 and 12. So in this case, Brad Holmes said, yeah, if there's a bunch of players available at 29, I'm rambling. 44 and 77 for 29. How do you feel about that?
Same I did last week. I'd do it in a heartbeat. I think there's certainly value there. I mean, of course, when I say in a heartbeat, it's because the guys that I really covet aren't available at 29.
Right.
And if I had tried to move up, which I would try to move up, and I was, rebuffed, then I'd say, oh, fair enough. I can move back, and there's lots of guys I like. It's interesting. The trade value chart for those picks.
Yeah.
The 2 picks that Vegas has, the second and third round pick, they combine for 665 points. The pick at 29 for the Lions that they had that they would trade for that is worth 640 points. So it's right on.
Mm-hmm.
I would absolutely make that move. I'd like to having the picks kind of close together there in the third round. You would have 73 and 76. That gives you some interesting flexibility to move back into the second round if you wanted to. So I think there's a lot the Lions could do with that if that's presented to them.
Kang, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I would absolutely do this. I think they're in a really good spot. I mean, with all these quarterbacks and offensive players that are projected to go pretty early in this first round, you're pushing guys back. And I think if you can gain more draft capital and still get a couple of those guys in that draft pool or bucket that they have, which are the same caliber type players, you absolutely do it. I think there's going to be a guard that you're definitely going to be able to get after 29, and I think it's just a value thing for me at this point, and you can still get that impact type player.
Now I'm fighting the temptation to project last year's impact on this year's draft. And what I mean by that, and I know better, okay? I do know better, but I don't know better because I'm doing it anyway. Who's the next Branch and Laporta?
Well,
and that's not fair. Branch and Laporta were taken in the second round. Every draft is different. To assume that if Brad Holmes does this, he sees his next Branch and Laporta. And what I mean, obviously, I'm talking about impact guys who impact you, that you impact your roster in year one that you took in the second round. And given the variability from draft to draft, I shouldn't do that.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. And last year, the Lions had 2 first-round picks. So there's even more flexibility they have. So when they trade back and get all this draft capital, I get it. And you're littered with picks throughout the draft. This one's different. They're picking at the end of the first round. So to get more of those, cracks at it, you trade back and you get that second and third round pick. And who is that guy? I have a feeling that would come from a pool of offensive linemen. That's where I feel
interior offensive linemen.
Well, I think it could be a tackle too, depending on who's there.
You're right.
I think it's offensive linemen.
The impact might happen because of injury too, Doug. Like you're not drafting a guy that's going to start right away, but we know how secondary guys get hurt, interior offensive linemen get hurt. I mean, you might be able to get Cooper Beebe, Frazier, Jackson Powers Johnson after the first round. That's why I think you make a trade like this, because guys are going to quote unquote fall, but the impact player might not happen right away like you saw last year, Doug, but during the season at some point that could be very impactful, this player drafted. Well,
and then the other thing is the public service announcement for people attending the draft. This could happen if you are there Thursday night. Now, Kang, you were looking up some prices. Where the actual picks are made, that is not a free area. Is that correct?
The draft theater is you have to have tickets to go into the draft theater area.
And so
that's where the picks are made, yeah, where the players are introduced and all that.
And that to get a ticket for that, it costs money, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just a heads up. If you spend money to be in the draft theater where the players are introduced and the picks walk onto the stage and bro hug Goodell, the Lions might not pick.
I honestly look at it as I'm trying to put myself in a fan's shoes. It wouldn't bother me at all, because I'm there for if you're going there for the experience of everything that happens in the draft. The draft is crazy, and it's crazy fun. To say that you were there for all the trades that are being made, the maneuvering going on, was Minnesota able to move into the number 4 spot or number 5 spot? If they thought they had it with 5, did the Giants trumpet move to 4? All that stuff is there that you'd be a part of, and it'd be cool. And if it comes down to it and you get to 29, you hear there's a trade, you can say, I was there when they traded.
Yep. I mean, the warning's been made multiple times, but just another point of emphasis.
Now,
it could happen. But it's like buying tickets to a game. I bought tickets to the game. They didn't even win.
But it's like if the Lions,
sports,
well, I get that, yeah.
Right, it's sports.